You don't need vegetables on a ketogenic diet. You don't need vegetables to be healthy. Vegetables are not the magical health panacea that they've been made out to be. So a question that comes often, how many veggies should I eat on a keto? How many carbs should I eat on a ketogenic diet? Now obviously, how many carbs you should eat on a ketogenic diet is a very different question than how many carbs do you need on a ketogenic diet. How many carbs you should eat depends on your personal preference, on your own individual context. Some of you might love vegetables. I happen to like veggies. I don't find myself eating them very often at all after about 6 years now on a ketogenic diet. The vegetables just aren't calling to me anymore. Now I used to believe that vegetables were necessary for micronutrients. When I first started out on a ketogenic diet, I made sure to get in significant amounts of potassium from vegetables. But what I've found over the years is that my body just doesn't need them. And I'm not the only one. Now we've been told that vegetables are necessary for health, that vegetables are the crux of a healthy human diet. And this is just absolute hogwash. What's really cool about this whole carnivore diet movement that's been going on for the last year is that it's proving to us, and it's making us question. Well, it's proving to us that vegetables are not necessary, that vegetables are not these magical health foods that are required for everybody. Now, I'm not saying vegetables are bad. I'm not saying you should avoid vegetables. But on a ketogenic diet, you really don't need them. When I first started out keto, I made sure to get in a lot of foods like avocado, which was always one of my favorite foods. But what's crazy is, nowadays, I find myself eating more steaks, eating more meat, eating more foods like marrow, liver, organ meats, and less vegetables. In fact, for like the last year and a half, I've had very, very little plant food in my diet at all. Every once in a while, I'll have some olive oil. I don't remember the last time I had an avocado. Sometimes if I go out to eat, I might have some vegetables with a meal, but they're just not necessary. I don't find myself preparing them any longer. I do very much enjoy fermented vegetables, and that's something I've always been a fan of, getting the natural probiotics from foods like sauerkraut, making stuff like, even back in the day we used to make beet kvass. I enjoy these foods. They can have their benefits for some people, but they're just not necessary. Now the micronutrient deficiency argument, you're going to be micronutrient deficient, you're not getting foods, you're not getting stuff like potassium from vegetables. This is kind of a bunk argument. There is a significant amount of potassium in meat. If you eat a pound of meat, you're going to be getting like 600 milligrams, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sure there'll be 100 comments down below telling me you're wrong. I think there's about 1,600 milligrams in a pound of meat. Now, obviously cooking can degrade certain micronutrients, but if you're getting in a significant amount of foods like meat, animal foods, it's very unlikely that you're going to deal with micronutrient deficiencies. There was a study done on 2 guys back in the 1930s. There was actually a book written about it by one of the guys. This guy, his name was Stephenson, and he was living with Inuit for an extended period of time. He was an explorer in the Arctic. He ended up living on an all-meat diet for many years of his life. Over a decade of off and on all-meat dieting, living with Inuit, led him to discussing his experience with medical professionals back in the day. And they didn't believe him. They said, dude, you're going to get scurvy and you're going to die. Same argument being made today by people that are zealously attached to the idea that vegetables are necessary. We've been told by industry, we've been told by our authorities. The fake authorities and the fake medical system have told us that vegetables are necessary for human health. Now, much of this is based on mechanistic data. Much of this is based on replacing refined foods, junk foods in the diet with vegetables, and people seem to get better outcomes. But Stephenson was eating an all-meat diet with no vegetables at all and said he felt better than he ever had in his life. They didn't believe him. They put him in a metabolic ward in New York, him and a friend, a guy named Anderson, and they studied them on an all-meat diet for an entire year. And the results were remarkably unremarkable. I think that's a direct quote from Stephenson in his book, The Fat of the Land. They also reprinted the book, and it was reprinted by the name of Not by Bread Alone. So you could check out that book. It talks about the experiments done on the two guys on an all-meat diet for a year. The results were remarkably unremarkable because they were totally fine. All their biomarkers were fine. They were measuring certain biomarkers in their urine and their blood. Of course, they didn't have the advanced techniques for measuring biomarkers that we have today, but the guys were totally fine. No symptoms of scurvy, no symptoms of deficiencies. And both of the men were strong and capable. So, how many vegetables do you need on keto? I used to say that you probably want to eat some vegetables with every meal. That you want to get vegetables in for micronutrients and even fiber. Now, we've all thought that fiber is so good for digestion, that fiber is needed for gut motility, for feeding the gut microbiome. Right? The gut microbiome seems to be one of these final frontiers in human health. People are exploring the effects of certain microbes on health and the associations between levels of microbes and inflammation or lack of inflammation, improved or worse digestive issues. But what's crazy is we don't really know as much as many people are making it out like we know. Now, obviously, the gut microbiome is very important. Taking antibiotics can tank people's health. Eating abrasive foods like fiber that's indigestible constantly when you've got a compromised gut microbiome is not good for everybody. People have been finding that some of these diets, like the GAPS diet, the gut and psychology syndrome diet, which is an elimination diet, removing most plant foods, much like a carnivore diet, much like a ketogenic diet based on animal foods, GAPS gets very good results for many people because they remove the fermentable materials. Right, the FODMAPs is another version of an elimination diet. Removing fermentable material, and you're starving the gut microbiome of the fiber that many of these negative, so-called negative bacteria are eating. Now, people have been told that, you need lactobacillus, you need these certain strains of bacteria in your gut in order to be healthy. And you could only get these through eating fiber. And fiber is needed to feed those gut microbes. What we're finding now, with so many people doing self-experimentation, and with people actually doing some research on, if you do a quick Google search on fiber for constipation in PubMed, there are studies showing that the removal of all fiber from the diet, a zero-fiber diet, completely remediates all symptoms of constipation. Many people with Crohn's disease, with IBS, are getting great results by removing fiber from their diet. So it's not so simple as fiber good, meat bad. In fact, there are people who have discussed the results of removing plants from the diet, people who were doing ubiome testing, right, testing their gut microbiome and finding that they had improved gut microbiota diversity on a carnivorous style diet. So the blanket statement that you need fiber for your gut is being shown to be untrue. So we might not necessarily need as many vegetables, or any vegetables, as many of us have been led to believe. Now, I know my buddy, Dr. Berg, who's come on the show here before. He's come on the stream, and super awesome dude, very nice guy. We discussed this issue, and he agreed with me like that. If it's working, it works. Do what works for your body. Now, Dr. Berg recommends much higher vegetable intake than what I'm saying is necessary right now. He has a different opinion on it. Respect other people's opinions, but it's being shown, especially by all these pesky little carnivores out there removing all plants from their diet, that we just don't need as many veggies as we were led to believe in the past. That the vegetables are not the perfect health source. They're not this necessary thing in the diet. That micronutrient deficiencies are not arising in people that are eating all meat, and there are many people out there who do a carnivorous diet differently than I do it. Right now, I'm eating organ meats. I eat a lot of foods like marrow, heart. I love liver. It's one of the best sources of vitamin A in the world. All right, I mean, these are incredibly nutrient-dense sources of foods, incredibly of B vitamins rather, incredibly easily digestible foods, these animal foods. Animal proteins and fat digest better than almost any plant that you could imagine. There are many people out there who are not eating these foods though. There are a lot of people who are eating mostly just meat. They've got the Anderson family, who even raise their children on an all-meat diet. And this sounds completely heretical to so many people out there. And a few years ago, I would have thought this sounded ridiculous as well, removing all plants from the diet. If I had heard this 5 years ago, I would have thought it was absurd. But their kids are healthy. Shalene Anderson was suffering from chronic Lyme's disease, and she's been symptom-free for decades now. Her husband is strong and healthy as well. No plant foods, not even eating organs. And they're not, I recommend grass-fed beef, right? Grass-fed animals, antibiotic-free, hormone-free meat. That's what we eat. Not into the factory farming stuff, but they're not concerned with that in their family. They're just eating, ribeyes from the supermarket and doing totally fine. You've got guys like Sean Baker. Dr. Sean Baker has been on my stream many times. Super nice guy, super strong, capable athlete. Dude was about to break some rowing records on a Concept 2 rower. And he's eating basically ribeyes as well. He has some fish when he eats out, and he eats some other cuts of meat as well, but he's not concerned with eating grass-fed all the time either. He's not eating any organs, and he can perform far better at a far higher level than many of us out there who are saying that we should be eating organs, that we should be eating these micronutrient-dense parts of the animal, and we should be eating head to tail. So I can't argue with the results of these people. We've got to question our dogma. We've got to question the basic assumptions that we've made about these plant foods. Maybe they're not as necessary as everybody thinks. So how many veggies do you need on a ketogenic diet? None. You can base your whole diet around animal foods and thrive. In fact, many former vegans who have wrecked their health further, right? Many people have got compromised gut microbiomes. We all were raised on antibiotics like they were freaking candy, right? I remember taking amoxicillin when I was a kid, that pink sweet medicine. I thought it tasted so good when I was getting ear infections. I loved how it tasted. I would ask for extra. You can only take 1 dose a day. We were all raised on these antibiotics. Or not all of us, if we were lucky. Many of us have compromised gut microbiomes from vaccine injuries, stuff like that. Many children have been dealing with this. And a lot of people find that the plants can have a negative effect on health. A lot of these former vegans who have eaten a very nutrient depleted, low animal food diet, no animal food diet in fact. If you're vegan, it's no animal foods. If you're vegetarian, you're eating some. You're eating eggs, at least you're getting some choline, at least you're getting some fat-soluble vitamins there. But a lot of these vegans are finding that their health tanks further when they're going on these nutrient-depleted, fad vegan diets. Right? The most dangerous diet you can do is a diet that completely removes all animal foods from the diet. But a lot of these people are getting complete remission of their symptoms that were so prominent in the vegan diet. They're getting complete remission of their digestive disturbances and troubles by going on an all-animal food diet. So we've got to question our assumptions. Yeah, I like vegetables. I just don't find myself making them all the time. I can handle them. I just don't think they're necessary. So don't feel guilty if you're not smothering your meat in spinach. Right? Don't feel guilty if you feel better without plants. Many people out there thrive on a zero carbohydrate diet. In fact, I talked to Andrew Scarborough years ago, who's used the zero carbohydrate ketogenic approach as an adjunct therapy for cancer. He did keto and he didn't get the results he needed as far as maintaining stable brain chemistry after having a tumor removed, which hasn't come back over the last 5 years. Or I think it's even 6 years. It might be 6 years that he's been eating an all animal foods based diet. He was the first full carnivore I spoke to on my channel. And it's pretty mind-blowing to see so many people now benefiting from a carnivorous diet, whereas Andrew was an anomaly years ago. So the plants aren't necessary for health. Plants aren't necessary on keto. You can build a diet based around animal fats and protein. That's why we have an entire section on organ meats in our book, the Ketogenic Edge Cookbook, the training manual for low-carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. where we teach you how to prepare nutrient-dense foods. Now, I'm not saying you should remove plants from the diet, but many of us just don't need them. But if you do like preparing vegetables, there are ways to prepare them to make them more bioavailable, like fermentation. That's why we show you how to make sauerkraut in the book. And there are many cuts of the animal that are far more nutrient and micronutrient dense, like liver, heart, kidney. And that's why we show you how to make these organ meats. We have a whole section on offal. We call it the odd bit section in the Ketogenic Edge cookbook, which is finally available in print now. You can get it in the link in the description. Put a whole section on the most nutrient dense parts of the animal. And it's great to see many more people branching out into these nutrient-dense cuts and using things like liver and heart, improving their health, improving their digestion, and thriving on a primarily animal foods-based diet. Now, you don't need to pull out all plants from the diet, but you definitely don't need to be shoving the spinach down your gullet. And if you hate broccoli, you don't need to eat it every dang day on a ketogenic diet. My buddy Dr. Berg recommends 7 to 10 cups of vegetables per day. Personally, I happen to think that that's excessive. I happen to think that not everybody needs that much, and that some of us will feel much better on less vegetables. But it's up to you. If you want to eat the vegetables, go for the veggies. If you feel better with them, if you prefer to have them in your diet, do it. I love them. I like vegetables. I just don't find myself making them anymore. So you can find more at primaledgehealth.com. If you want private coaching consultations, I'm still doing those, but I've decreased the amount of clientele I take on because we've been doing our Keto and Carnivore Collective every month now. We were doing it every other month, but now we're doing it every month, at least for the next few months. It's a great way that we can get coaching done and be able to handle all the clients that we have coming to us. And we have a community-based setting where we're able to hook up other people, and you're able to share your experiences, share your support, and get the support of other people in a community setting. So we do 2 live interactive voice chats per week. One of those is a lesson, the other one is a live Q&A. This allows us to transmit much more knowledge and experience to you as compared to when we do Skype consultations, where I'll do a 1-hour Skype meeting per month with clients and then communicate via email after that. So the Keto and Carnivore Collective, the next one starts December 9th. Super excited for that one. That's going to be fun. We've got a good group of people this month in our November Keto and Carnivore Collective. What we've been finding, and what's fascinating, is that we've had more and more people gravitating towards a carnivorous style keto diet. We even had to add the word carnivore to our group coaching because so many people are just enjoying and thriving on less plants. So the next Keto and Carnivore community coaching starts November 9th. You can sign up. There's a link down in the description. How many veggies do you need on a ketogenic diet? None. You can find more at primaledgehealth.com. So get off the computer, get off your social media, freaking kill your Facebook account, get off the dang TV, go outside and live.